Everybody, Coach Allison back, and we've had week 11, Defy Aging. And I hope everybody enjoyed Mobility Week last week, and we're going to get back to our standard workouts this week. So this week we have one circuit of 6 exercises. We're going to go through that circuit for 4 rounds, and that'll be good because we have some single-sided movements this week. So each round we will switch sides for those single-sided movements. So keep that in mind, because that will even it out to have 2 rounds on each side. Everything is timed the same. So we're going to have 30 seconds on, 35 seconds off. So it's going to give you a little bit extra rest time compared to that work time. All right, 6 exercises, as I said. So let's review what those are. The first one is kind of new. It's a dumbbell side to side overhead press. So you need 1 dumbbell, depending on size of your hands, really. You might, because I have small hands, I can kind of stagger my hands a little on the single handle. You might have to overlap your hands completely. Okay, so that'll be kind of different for all of us. Okay, I have to kind of overlap just my pinky a little bit like that. Anyway, but we're going to start it kind of on one side like this in front of one shoulder. We're going to go up, kind of bring it to the other side. So kind of it's like I'm kind of drawing a pyramid or drawing a triangle, sort of, and it really fatigues out the front, your shoulders, but more so the front, the anterior delt, front of the shoulder, almost maybe into the chest just a little bit. So we're not circling it, so we're not drawing a dome over the head or anything, but again, we're kind of making a sort of a pyramid or a triangle. I'll kind of turn to the side for a different view. Take it slow and steady. It's always staying slightly in front of your body. So I'm not, what that I mean, we're not bringing it way back here. We're not trying to keep it on top of the head like this. But instead it's staying slightly in front of the body at all times. See what I mean by that? Kind of staying in front, not directly on top. And that's what helps to get the anterior, again, that front of the shoulder. Ooh, just doing that little demo, my shoulders are wiped out from that. I was using a 15-pound weight. So it's definitely new, different. I would try a lighter weight before you, so you can kind of learn how that feels. We have 4 rounds, so if you want to change the weight, maybe increase it once you sort of get the feel for it, go for it. But that is our new one, dumbbell side to side overhead press. Next up is a clamshell. So you're going to be on your side. You can lie with your head in your hand here. Maybe turn better angle here. Okay. Keep your knees bent. You're going to glue your feet together, and we lift that top leg. It's a really small range of motion, typically for most of us. A little different for each person depending on our hip mobility, right? But you're going to be feeling kind of the glute and hip back here on the top side. Now, typically people want to make this a bigger movement. We just kind of, in our heads, we just want to make it a bigger movement. So we might want to rock or tip our body back to get this leg open farther. So try to avoid the urge to do that. So keep your body still, no rocking or tilting. So keep your body still, and the only thing moving is just this leg up and down. So it might feel a little frustrating or sticky because you want, this is as high as I can go. Now watch if I tip my body back, then I can get that leg higher, but we don't want to do that tipping because that just takes the focus off the hip. You're actually not affecting the hip or glutes anymore. You're just tipping backwards. And then for our participants not doing floor exercises, we're going to use a mini band, but I want you to use a firm band. So one of the level 4 or level 5, one of the really firm bands. Going to put it around the knees, maybe a little higher, tiny bit higher than the knees, sitting on a bench, and with just one leg, sit kind of towards the edge of your bench, so don't scoot all the way back on it, so scoot really far forward, so you're almost going to fall off it. Keep your feet very close together, touching, and do that same kind of clamshell with the resistance though now. When you're lying on the floor, the resistance is just you're fighting gravity. That's your resistance. But here, that's why you need a firm band, because the light band won't offer too much resistance here. But yeah, this is going to be your alternative. Only, look, I'm keeping one leg stationary. I'm only moving the one side. That's going to be our alternative for anyone staying off the floor. This is one of our single-sided exercises, so we will switch sides with each new rotation because we do have the 4 rounds. Okay. Next up, we have a box squat. It's a squat, but you come down and tap your hips or your butt to a bench or a box or whatever your club is using, or a chair even, or anything. And the key here, though, is that we're not taking a full sit. We don't take a full seat down from the side, so it's more clear what's going on here. So you come a little bit forward from your box. You don't want to be right next to it, because if you're right next to it, what happens is that your hamstrings hit the box first. And look at how much space I have between my butt and the box. So you're not going to be able to get a full range of motion. So come forward a little bit from your box, because you want to line it up so that your back, well, I'm still a little too close. Your butt actually just taps the box, not your back of the legs, not your hamstrings. So you go down low enough where you literally just tap it. You feel the box, but you're not remotely like sitting and standing. We do an exercise called the sit stand, where you actually do put like 50 or maybe 40% of your body weight down. That's our sit stand. So we're not doing that. It's a little different than this. This is just giving you a guide to know how low you're going. You're tapping it so you know you're getting that depth and you're coming back up. So it's our box squat. Just a little tap and you're back up. Okay? If you feel ready and you want to try something lower, the next level down as far as the box depth, your coaches can put something lower. I'm going to grab something lower and show you. 1 second. Okay, because something lower obviously means you're getting a deeper squat, a harder range of motion squat. So now look at how much more I'm bending my knees, how much lower I'm going. But again, I'm not sitting and taking a full seat. I'm tapping my butt and coming back up. So if you feel ready for that lower depth, your coach could have a couple lower options set up as well for everybody. So that's our box squat. You can hold weight, a goblet weight at your chest if you are ready for that added challenge as well. That's optional. Let's give it a try. All right, next up we have a half meal pull down. So we've got our band with the handles tied up something higher than your head, because we want to be pulling at a downward angle. And we're going to be in this half meal position that we do quite often. And you do have a handle in each hand. Just double arm exercise. Posture up nice and tall so we're not leaning forward or slouching. And we pull both arms down and back. Elbows come down and back. Chest out. Make sure when you pull, you're not caving. See how I'm sort of caving in my chest here? You want to avoid that. Instead, you want to open up your chest and put even a subtle arch in the back. Watch my mid and low back here. Instead of sort of caving in that chest, I'm going to open the chest and watch my low back has that subtle arch. Okay. And since it's a double arm exercise, with each new rotation, with each new round, we'll switch the kneeling side. So you have 2 rounds with each knee on the floor. And for anyone staying off the floor, we do that same pull down, but in a seated position. So I'll pause 1 second and I will show you what that looks like. So everything is really exactly the same. All of the cues are exactly the same. We're going to be on a bench seated instead of the kneeling position to keep you off the knees. So your coaches will have benches, boxes, whatever we need to wheel into the space. Again, even a chair from the office works just fine, sitting up nice and tall. All of the cues I already gave you for the upper body is exactly the same. Posture, watch what's happening with my spine and my low back, mid and low back, elbows coming back, open up the chest. So all of those cues are exactly the same. Kneeling versus sitting is the only difference for that. Next, we have some agility ladder. And we're going to do zigzag fast feet. So no jumping, but we're going to be moving awfully fast, and I want those feet really moving quick. So we haven't done this one for a while. This ladder is a little wonky here, so it doesn't really matter. But okay, so in the past for warm-ups and even for some of the exercise, we've done fast feet, which is like this, staying on the balls of your feet, moving really quick. So in essence, we're doing that. We're also going to be doing zigzag, so going kind of in a zigzag pattern down the length of the ladder. So the goal is to get your feet in each box and then out to the other side. So we're going to step in, out, out, going as quickly as possible, staying on the balls of those feet, okay? And try not to step on any of the rungs of the ladder. That's tricky. You can turn around to head back the other way, obviously. But in, out, out. See how quickly I am kind of staying on the balls of my feet. And got to keep those knees bent, slightly bent at all times. So you can move fast, fast, fast. Was I going that fast where I actually created wind? Didn't feel that fast. But yeah, you have 4 rounds to work on this to try to go faster and faster. But if, start working working on getting in each box and out each box without stepping on the ladder. Start there. As you feel more and more comfortable, you can add the speed. And yeah, let's give this a try. Our last station is a kettlebell high-low carry. We're gonna have one arm up high, one arm down low. We're gonna try to use kettlebells for both. The high carry will be a little more tricky, of course. The balance and the strength being one of the reasons. And the positioning also, because when we hold a kettlebell up high, it can be a little tricky for some people just to get acclimated to holding that kettlebell. So we start with the kettlebell down. You can use your other hand to kind of help bring it up here. See how I rotated that kettlebell around here? The curve of the handle should be kind of comfortably in the curve of your hand here. Okay? Resting gently on your forearm here. And then you can either use your hand to help get it up, or if you're strong enough to get it up there without assistance, great. And see how remember where I said the curve of the handle should be? It's right in the light. That's what makes that pretty comfortable. If you're trying to hold it just on the straight part of the kettlebell, that'll be a little less comfortable. But if you shift it over so that curve of the handle is in the curve of your pointer, finger, and thumb, it's going to be much more comfortable. It should drape just right down the back of your forearm. See? And see, my wrist is nice and straight. Make sure that that's the case. We don't want the wrist to be bending back like this. That's not how we want to hold a kettlebell above our head. We always want a straight, strong wrist just to reinforce a straight, strong wrist. And we also don't want that kettlebell to flip off of our hand and continue to fall. So look at my wrist, look at my hand. This is the proper overhead position you don't even need to, I like to have a loose grip. I think it's more comfortable, but you can definitely do a full grip. But this is our overhead proper position. Last thing I'll say about this is you want a straight, strong arm. You don't want the arm to be, this is adding more work on yourself than you need to be doing. This is keeping tension on your elbow. If you straighten that arm all the way, it's a little more stability because there's a little more wobbliness. But you are taking off a little of the tension from your bicep and then the elbow joint. If you're doing this, you're needing to now constantly flex these muscles, whereas this, you'll be able to rely on just the bones of your arm. Okay, so that's the bicep really close to the ear. That's the proper overhead position for an overhead kettlebell carry. That was a lot, but we're trying to really get everyone used to this, so I'm reinforcing this every time I toss this into our program. The low one's easy. Grab that kettlebell and hold it down at your side. Okay. This is our high-low carry. And then we go for a walk. Slow and controlled. Wherever your coach designated. Now, back to that up arm, if you're doing this, it's going to make the carry very challenging because look how much more it wants to wobble around if you have that elbow bent. But if we keep that strong and straight up and down, elbow next to the ear like this, it's going to be much easier for you to control it as well, as opposed to this. Okay? And yes, so that was a long demo for that, but there's so many things to remember with that high carry. Okay? Go light. Don't, if you're struggling with getting the proper, I'd rather have you drop and go to the next weight down with the kettlebell than give up and just say, screw it, I want to do a dumbbell. Because we want everyone to get used to these kettlebells. Because the more tools you acclimate yourself to, they all have a different benefit. Kettlebell has that bottom loaded weight, and so this offers a different kind of challenge on your body, on your muscles, on your stability. So that's why we really try to use all of these tools. So we'd rather have you stick with it, try, put yourself in an uncomfortable position to learn something new. If you give it a fair shot and something just not agreeing with your arm or something, and you gave it a fair shot, that's one thing, but give it a fair shot. I will say finally that if you have a watch, on the side of your watch, it's going to run into the watch. So you'll probably want to flip the watch under so the kettlebell doesn't hit the watch. So that's all I'll say about that one. Give it a try. And that's our high-low carry. And of course, the team builder, we're going to do a wall sit challenge. So whoever can hold a wall sit the longest, and it's not just a challenge with the group. I want this to be a challenge also for yourself. So if you repeat Defy throughout the week, I want you to try to beat your times throughout the week as well. So you can also challenge yourself to have a little competition with yourself for your wall sit time. So you're going to go up against a wall. I think most of us know the wall sits. Sink down as low as you can without going lower than thighs parallel. So we don't want to be down here. But press your full back against the wall so we're not leaning forward on our thighs at all. And we hold this as long as you can. Okay? We want to make sure the feet are at least ankles are directly under the knees or maybe a little in front of the knees, but definitely not behind the knees like this. That's a lot of pressure on the knees, which we want to avoid. So once you get all that positioning correct, it's a matter of holding it as long as you can. Remember, when you feel like you can't hold it any longer, a lot of that initial sensation is panic. Yes, it burns. It absolutely does. But we can always go a little bit longer. So when you feel like you are done, tell yourself, I've got 5 more seconds. And then count to 5. And I promise you, you have those last 5 seconds. So, wall sit challenge for our team builder. Okay, team, that is week 11. And I hope you enjoy it. I'll see you back in week 12.